Good morning, children. Welcome to the fourth period of ninth standard. So, in this fourth period, we are going to study the point related to the new chapter in the history. So, the unit second, that is medieval India and political transitions. So, in this chapter, we are going to study the point related to the medieval period. So, what was the history we are going to study related to the India in the period of medieval, that is called as the medieval India, and how was the political transition. So, there was a transition system we are going to, you know the meaning of transition from one era to the another era. So, that topic we are going to study in this chapter. So, in this topic, we are going to learn some important points like, so points to be learned in this chapter. What? Points to be learned in this chapter. So, first point we are going to learn in this chapter. In this chapter, we are going to see the period before the medieval India. That is, Rajput dynasties ruled in India before the starting of the medieval period. That is called as the Rajput dynasties. So many types of dynasties have ruled toward the Indian land. Those dynasties are considered as the Rajput dynasties with the different names ruled in India, that we will learn in this chapter. And second point, the contributions of the Rajput kings to the literature and the art and architecture. So next point we are going to learn in this chapter is the contribution given by the Rajput kingdoms. So different types of kings have ruled toward the India, and these different kings have given the different contributions in the art and the architecture side. Different kings have made the different types of construction, building, building the new type of art. So the third point we are going to see, after Rajput, there is the arrival of Turks. After the Rajput, there is the arrival of Turks, that impact of Muhammad Ghazni and the Muhammad Ghori. So, the persons who belongs to the Turk, they have arrived towards India and they have made a rule in India, that we are going to study in this chapter. The last point we are going to study in this chapter is the establishment of the Delhi Sultanates. Establishment of the Delhi Sultanate and their administration and their contributions toward the India when they have ruled in this area. So these all 4 points we are going to learn in this chapter, but in the today's class, so this is the fourth period. In this class, we are going to study only the two topics related to the Rajput dynasty's rule in India and the contributions of Rajput king towards the literature, art and the architecture. So, the next point, so these two topics we are going to learn in this. So, come to the introduction point. So, how it started, the political transition was started in the medieval period, and what is the transition or the political transition. So, the period between the second half of the 12th century and the first half of the 13th century is to be considered as the what? It is transitional period. It means after 1252 before 1350. This period is to be considered as the transitional period, and in this period there was the changes, there was the movement started to get a change in the society, that is called as the a recognition of the transitional period in the history of India. Now we know There are three types of histories we are going to study in the India or any countries. So in India we are going to see there are four types of different parts we are going to study in the history also. Ancient history is there, medieval history is there, modern history is there, and again we are going to study the contemporary history. Contemporary means the present history. So these divisions has made now in this period from 1250 to the 1350, there we are finding the changes in the society, change in the movement of the people, change in the culture of the people. That is considered as the transitional systems followed by the people belongs to the 1250 to the 1350. It is not an exact, just I have given the example. So it means second half means after 1250, and first half of the 13th means before the 1350. So this is the change we are going to see in the history of India. Why this period is going to be called as the transitional period? Because there was the moment we are going to see the preparedness of the society into the transfer from one culture to the another culture, or one era to the another era. That's why this period is considered as the transitional period. It means now they are transferring from the ancient to the medieval period. Who transferring? This society, Indian society, which was following the culture of the earlier kings. Now they are leaving that culture and they are entering towards the new culture due to the arrival of new kings towards the India to rule in India. So there was a total change we are going to find due to the political changes. So earlier we are going to see the Rajputs were ruled. The many dynasties we are going to see in the southern part of India, Ganga, the Rashtrakuta, Chalukyas, Badamis, all these we are going to see in the ancient period. In the same way, in the northern part of India also, many dynasties were ruled, but there was a change we are going to see in the 12th and the 13th century. That period is considered as the medieval political transition period that followed in India. It means the people have entered from the ancient to the medieval side. They have got entry toward the ancient to the medieval. Who? The total society of India. That is called as the political transition means change of kingdoms, change of kings. Earlier the people who belongs to the India only, they were ruling in India, but in this period the entry of other kings, the entry of other rulers from the different parts of the world have started to get entry toward the India, and they have ruled in India. These points we are going to see in this chapter. So, who were the people got first entry toward the India at the time of the changing of this political system in India? So, that time the people who belongs to the Turks, you know that Turks who were under the control of Romans. So, these people who are under the control of Romans, they have started movement to move towards India, and they got entry in the 13th century. Those people are considered as to be the great empires who got entry toward the India. They have ruled and they have changed the culture of India. So now in this topic, next topic, we are going to study the details. Who are the kings? Which are the small kingdoms who have ruled before the Turks or before the change of this political transition system? That we are going to study in this chapter. Those kings are to be called as the multi-state political system we have ruled before the medieval period. So that we are going to study, get the some details related to the kingdoms, small kingdoms which are ruled before the arrival of Turks. So that we are going to study. Most of these rulers were ruling in the northern part of India because Turks first entry they are made toward the northern part of India. Northern part of India. So that we are going to study in the next topic, that we are going to call as the kings who have ruled up to the 9th century. Those kings are belongs to the one of the important dynasty. Already we know that name of the dynasty we have learned in the 7th standard. So that is Rajput dynasties. Rajput dynasties. So Rajput dynasty has ruled in the early period of Turks. Point is the Rajput dynasties. So these Rajput dynasties are divided into some small kingdoms. So in the early period, the India was ruling by the hundreds of kingdoms were ruled in India. Thousands of kingdoms were ruled in India at the period of in the 8th century to the 12th century. These kingdoms are called as the small units or as to be called as the small dynasties ruled in India. Among that, one of the important dynasty which was divided into some many categories, many families that was become very famous in the northern part of India, that is to be considered as the Rajput dynasty. So these Rajput dynasties are ruled after the the Vardhanas, the Shatavahanas, that is Shata Vineshwara. Most of the western part of the northern India, they are ruled these people after the Vardhanas and the Shata Vineshwara dynasties. That dynasties are considered as the Rajput dynasties, and those Rajput dynasties were going to be called as the Gurujara Pratiharas that were ruled in the Bundelkhand, Chandelas, Garhwalas, Solankis, Paramarasas, and many other dynasties we are going to see related to the these Rajput dynasty. But in this class, in this 9th standard, we are going to learn some important 6 dynasties belongs to the Rajput dynasty. Among that, the first dynasty was Gurujara Pratiharas. Gurujara Pratiharas, which was the one of the important dynasty belongs to the Rajput dynasties, that because this was one of the first powerful kingdom developed in the northwestern part of India. But according to the many evidences, we are going to see there is a lot of changes in the evidences which shows the details related to the Gurujara Pratiharas. So one point we are going to learn in this topic, the Pratiharas have claimed many of their inscriptions that the Lakshmana of Ramayana period as a Kshatriya of Suryavamsha as the founding person of this family. Some people, according to the inscription seen, or they got in the inscription ideas, they are going to say this person, Lakshmana, who belongs to the Ramayana period, who belongs to the which category? Kshatriya category, and belongs to the Suryavamsha family, has developed this family. Which family? Gurujara Pratiharas. But according to the other evidences, according to the other evidences, we are going to be see that the founding person of this family, as per the available evidences present in India, we are going to see Nagabhatta is to be considered as the founder of this family. Who is to be considered as the Nagabhatta? Nagabhatta is considered as the founder of this family as per the evidences present in India now. Because always history needs evidences. Without evidences, there is no history. So, the Pratyaras ruled most of the Sindh region. They were ruling in the northwestern part of India. You can see in the map. You can see. So, this part to be considered as the Sindh region, and most of the Rajput families were ruled in this area. Rajput families. So that is called as the Sindh region. It is a part of northwestern part of India. Now, Nagbata became the founder for this family of this dynasty, and they have started to rule this region as keeping the capital of Kannauj. Kannauj become the capital of this which dynasty? Pratihara dynasty. Pratihara dynasty, this Nagabhatta has kept the Kannauj as the one of the capital city, and he has to start the rule over this area. And they fought many attacks. They have made many attacks towards the Arabs because Arab countries were related to the western part of India itself. So many times these Pratiharas went towards the Arabian country. Many times they have made attack towards the this Arab side and fought against them. That time Mihira Bhoja and the Mahendrapala, the powerful ruler of this dynasty, has defeated the Palas of Bengal and had extended the Pratihara kingdom toward the Bengal side. So first they were ruling in this side. Now these Mahendrapala and the Bhoja have started to move toward the eastern part of India, the West Bengal. So now they want to get the extension of their rule at the period of the king who become after the Nagabhatta, that is Bhoja. Bhoja, then Mahendrapala. Mahendrapala. So this Bhoja and Mahendrapala have made the extension of their kingdom toward the Bengal, and by making the attack towards the Bengal, they have taken the Bengal under their control. By this way, an Arab traveler at the period of this Bhoja and the Mahendrapala, we are going to see one of the Arab travel who visited toward his court, that is Bhoja's court, by the name Suleiman. So Suleiman were visited to the Mihir Bhoja's court and has appraised the kingdom, appreciated that this kingdom is a very peaceful kingdom in the India. And after giving the appreciation toward the Mihir Bhoja, this person want to make attack toward this Girijara, Gurujara Pratihara's dynasty at the period of Mahendrapala. But at the end, at the period of Mahendrapala, we are going to see due to the weakness of Mahendrapala, this dynasty came to be an end. And after this, we are going to see the next dynasty arise towards the Rajput dynasty was Gharwalas. And this Gharwalas become the second powerful dynasty after Pratihara. So the founder of the Gharwala dynasty was Chandradeva. Chandradeva is considered as the what? He is the founder of this Which dynasty? This Gharwalas dynasty. Gharwalas dynasty was founded by this person, and he has started after getting the power. Chandradeva has started to rule toward the northern part of India, which was under the control of Pratiharas. But this northern part, they have kept Varanasi. You know the present Uttar Pradesh in Varanasi. This Varanasi became the capital city for the which dynasty? This Gharwala dynasty. And by keeping the Varanasi as the capital city, he has started to rule the Gharwala dynasty. And he also made many attacks. Who? This Chandradeva. So after keeping this dynasty, Govinda Chandra is the another important ruler who belongs to this dynasty. First Chandradeva has started this dynasty, but Govinda was the famous ruler of this dynasty. He extended his rule from till Malwa to the Magad region. He started to from Malwa to the, it means from west to the east, Magad region. So he started to move the making of attack towards the land of part of eastern side and the part of western side. Who? This Govinda Chandra. So Govinda Chandra has defeated many kings like Palas. So already we got idea Palas were belongs to the Bengal side. Again these Palas were defeated by the this Govinda Chandra, and that area came under the control of this Gharwala dynasty. Then he also defeated the kings of Kalinga at the Odisha. Again he changed his movement to come toward the Orissa side. There they have defeated to the Kalingas, and he made attack. Now the occupation of the Govinda Chandra was made a more Indian land which was belongs to the other kings. So by this way, he again moved toward the Kashmir side. So keeping as the Varanasi as the capital, he moved toward the southern part of India. Then again he moved toward the Kashmir side. Kashmir side. Earlier he was ruled in the western part, moved toward the eastern side, then south, then the north. So like this way, this Govinda Chandra has become a very famous person to attack the four sides of India, and that Gujarat, and even though after the Kashmir, we are going to see this person has not lived to the good part of Gujarat also, because already he related to the Malwa region. So in Gujarat, the Cholas were ruling. Those Cholas were also defeated by this person. By this way, this Govinda Chandra became a very famous person in the Gharwalas dynasty. The name of that person is Govinda Chandra. Govinda Chandra. Then the third dynasty is Paramarasas. So these Paramarasas are going to be called as a prominent rulers came after the Pratiharas, because these rulers are going to be called as they came or arrival after the decline of the Pratihara dynasties. When the Pratihara dynasty was declined, these people came to make attack toward this Pratihara dynasty, and they started the rule. Because these people are going to be called as the feudatories of Rashtrakuta dynasty. See here, so that time one of the person by the name Upendra Krishna Raja. Upendra Krishna Raja, who was to be going to be called as the feudatory of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, and he started the Paramarasas dynasty. And by starting the Paramarasa dynasty, this person has kept Dharanagar as the capital city for the Paramarasa dynasty. Which capital city? Dharanagar. Dharanagar kept as the capital for the Paramarasas dynasty, and he started to get the rule. So that time you know that these Gharwalas were ruling, and earlier to the Pratiharas we know the Bhoja was ruling. So that time what happened, the Bhoja is the most popular king for the Paramara dynasty, and the extended the Paramaras state by popular king by the name of Paramar dynasty, and they have defeated the many kings belongs to the India or the small kingdoms. The kings like Kalyanis, the kings like Chalukyas, the kings like Kalinga, the kings like Gangas, and some northern part of Konkani areas. It means totally from the this half of the northern part to the total south side, they have started to get the rule toward the Indian land by the Paramarasas. So these Paramarasas also become famous, and that time though the Bhoja experienced high downs in the political sphere, they renamed and undefeated the area of literature, and he himself was poet, as the kings who came after him were very weak, who belongs to the Paramarasas dynasty. So in this Paramarasa dynasty we are going to see Bhoja was become a famous king, but after the Bhoja there were no any other powerful ruler, and automatically this dynasty become a very weak. And due to the weakness of this dynasty, you know that the powerful dynasty will get attacked toward the next dynasties. So the again three dynasties we are going to learn in this topic. Solankis were the fourth dynasty. Solanki is at the fourth dynasty, which are considered to be Rajput dynasty. So this dynasty was started by, or the founder to be called as the Moola Raja is considered as the Moola Raja. First is to be called as the founder of this which dynasty? The Solankis dynasty. But the Bhima first is considered as the famous ruler for this famous ruler for this dynasty. Ruler for this dynasty. Why he is going to be called as the famous ruler? Because he has made many achievements related to the Solankis dynasty. He has achieved many, or he has given the protection to the this Solanki dynasty. He could not protect the Somanatha temple from the Ghazni, but because that time Ghazni has started the movement to get the attack toward the Indian temple by the name Somanatha temple, but this Bhima has defeated or failed to fight with the Ghazni, but he has made many attacks. After him, Moola II and the Viradwala were capable kings to handle this Solankis dynasty, and they have defeated the Muhammad Ghazni who was coming toward the India at the Mount Abu. You know the Mount Abu. So on this Mount Abu, the Bhima has not defeated to the Ghazni. But the next person, two persons who came to the power by the name Veeradwala and the Moola Raja second, they have defeated to the Ghazni at the Mount Abu. Mount Abu is the one of the hill station. On this hill station, this Solanki dynasty's king have defeated this Turk or Arabian king. And during this rule, we are going to see the dynasty was very famous related to the Jain scholars. That time we are going to see the Jain scholars were get entry toward the this Solankis dynasty, and due to the entry of these Jain scholars by the name Hemachandra, a dictionary was developed by the name Desimala Ullah, and the next person who written the Ulaf Khan, that is Ulaf Khan was written by the Nusrat Khan. So these are the important books we are going to see which have developed in the period of Solankis. So, and getting the changes in the military also we are going to see in the Solankis period. At that time, the military general who arrived towards India, who was ruling in the Delhi Sultan. That time, Alauddin Khilji defeated the new ruler, the new king for the Solanki dynasty by the name Karnadeva, and made the kingdom Solanki as the part of Delhi Sultanate. By defeating this Alauddin Khilji, by defeating the Karanadeva, he taken this Solanki dynasty under the Sultanate. Sultanate dynasty. So by this way, the Solankis become the weak. And now next one is the Chandelas. So Chandela was to be considered as the a fifth dynasty, belongs to the Rajput dynasties, and Dhanga is to be called as the famous person who ruled for the Chandelas dynasty. Who this Dhanga is to be called as the a powerful person who ruled for the Chandelas dynasty, and who proposed to make attack toward the Bundelkhand. So, in this beginning, Chandelas were very feudatory toward the Pratiharas. Feudatory means they are under the control of the Pratiharas. But after the decline of the Paramarasas, this Danga declared himself as the independent ruler. Who this Danga, who is become the famous for the Chandalas, after the Paramarasas, he himself declared as the independent ruler, and he made the attack toward the eastern part of India, and he developed the new kingdom and extended his kingdom to the defeat of Palas. The Palas were living in the Bengal side. So that side he got entry and he started to get the attack toward the Palas, Andas. This Danga has become very famous, and due to the attack made by the Danga, he got a title by the name Maharaja Di Raja. Maharaja Di Raja was the title given to this person. It means the meaning of Maharaja Di Raja is the king of kings. King of kings. And by this way, he made lot of change the military assistant, and he developed the extended the dynasty and Hindu Shahi. So many achievements made by this dynasty and completed to get the development of Hindu Shahi, and the King Jaipala, he has defeated many kings, made attack toward the Turks also. Finally, in fighting lack of unity among the Rajputs, this dynasty came to be an end, Chandala dynasty. So in the today's class, we are going to stop to this topic only. So I will continue the next topic in the next class with the Chauhanas.